Hey everyone, time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist here for a Thursday. So today I spent basically all day except a few errands that I had to run, working on the wiring again on this gorgeous blue Manx Buggy here, and pretty much finished up the back wiring except for connecting wires to the motor, and then for the I don't remember what he wants to run for a license plate light, but that's not hooked up because it's not on there yet. But everything else is basically hooked up, and let's take a look at that. So what I ended up doing was, if you guys watched the channel, you saw tomorrow I ran this, well, let me show you here. Ran this conduit through the edge of the tunnel here, and I still need to fasten it down so it tucks neatly along there, but ran that yesterday and had the wiring harness pulled through it, and then today I actually started wiring things up. So anyway, that comes out up there, and then basically what I did was I ran it up alongside the transmission, and then I put a one of those little padded clamp things right there. Where's my light? Right there, to hold it, and then kind of split off for the wires that go to the starter for both 12 volts, and then for the solenoid for the switch there, and then continued on up and up there, and then kind of tee off, and so you can see ran to the left here, and then ultimately into turn signal, and then basically this one right here will go to this is the license plate light, and then this huge bundle here is for the motor, so idiot lights, and the thick one is for the to the alternator. There's some spares in there. There's two for the gauges that he had. Yep, pretty much all the wires to wire in the motor right there. So, and then going off to this side is the ones for the other tail light. So that's pretty much it for back here. Really time consuming. Honestly, I think wiring one of these buggies in might take more time than an actual Beetle. There's not really that much less wiring as far as, like the actual number of things you got to wire up. I mean, you still got taillights, you still got a motor, in this case gauges, still got a license plate light, turn signals. I think about the only things that you don't really have on a buggy that you have on, say, a Beetle is a dome light, which, okay, big deal. It's like 2 wires. And what else? And probably not wipers. Although I think this customer might have asked if we could put wipers on it. So we'll have to look into that. It can definitely be done. But yeah, anyway, other than possibly wipers and a dome light, there's pretty much just as much wiring here as there is on a Beetle. But the challenge is that this kit that we're using, if you can call it that, it's pretty much like a big pile of wires and a fuse box, and it's like missing wires, and the wires are like weird lengths and stuff. I mean, they made it a very generic kit for, like a buggy or a sand rail or something like that, but it's kind of a pain. And then all the routing and stuff is all custom. It's not like a Beetle where there's kind of like preordained routes that the wires take. On these things, it's kind of up to you how you run stuff. So again, the back of this thing is pretty much just what I thought would look the most clean. Like on the earlier buggies I showed you guys before, the wiring comes through this tube that runs along the chassis, and then it's kind of all nice and tucked up in there, and then you can just drop down for the motor and stuff. But on this one, since we had to come through the floor, and I had to get up, up here to run for the lights and stuff like that, pretty much just ended up running it up the firewall here. the harness wasn't really long enough for me to somehow do it way off to the side or something. I would have liked to have done that, but the length of the wires for like the tail lights and stuff like that, there just wasn't really enough length there. So I had to kind of come almost like straight back from where it came through the pan and then almost like straight up. And then from there was enough for running to the lights and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, that's all going to be pretty much hidden behind the motor anyway. So it's not like anybody's really going to notice that. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the routing and stuff here. But yeah, anyway, my point being is that it's just super time consuming because you got to pretty much make up all that stuff as you go. Like, hey, where am I going to run these wires? How am I going to make this clean? I don't know if I mentioned we use these clamps here also, like the one I had on the transmission, and how we mount those on buggies so it looks nice and clean is we actually use carriage bolts. So the heads of those are kind of clean. So drill a hole and then take a square file and file the square hole in, and then it goes right in. And so 3 of those back there, one on each side pretty much for the tail lights, and then one a little bit off center of middle, which is where the harness comes up from back there. So yeah, spent a lot of time on that and then moved on to the front. The front I didn't get a hell of a lot done. I did go ahead and mount the fuse box and started just kind of organizing the wires for it. Again, the color codes for these are not remotely like a Volkswagen, so I have to kind of keep referring to the wiring diagram to kind of figure out what the hell is what. But kind of started separating it out. Like these are the wires that are going to go to the gauges and switches and stuff like that, and then these are wires that are going to run to the front of the car for like headlights and stuff like that. And there's a bunch more wires, but this is just kind of it so far. And then here's the wiring harness coming from the back of the car. So probably next what I'll do is I'm going to poke a hole probably over here somewhere in the firewall so I can run wires, both from inside the car to outside under the tank, and then also the wires that need to go from the back of the car to the fuse box will come through there. So that'll probably be the next thing I do, and then start just routing all those wires. And front turn signals are mounted, but headlights aren't, so probably need to go ahead and see about mounting the headlights here so I can wire those up as well. But anyway, that is basically what I did today, is work on the wiring here. I don't know if I mentioned or not, so the taillights themselves are all wired up. The wiring harness doesn't come with any ground, so I had to go and add grounds to all the harness back here and make sure these were grounded. Unlike a Beetle where you can get a ground off, say, a fender a lot of times just by having things mounted, no such thing here. This is fiberglass, so you got to run a separate wire for practically everything on these to get a ground. So the cowlick car today, Jacob took care of a couple little details on it today. It now has wipers on it. It's starting to look like a done car. I had painted those previously and kind of cleaned them up. We decided to go black so they kind of blend in with the cowlick rubber and stuff like that. The other thing he did is he put in the kick panels under the back seat there. So yeah, kind of cleaned that area up there with the panels in. And I think that is about it for us for today, guys. So appreciate you guys watching. And as always, thanks for all the comments and likes and stuff like that. You guys are the best. So we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.